I don't know how about you, but I'm this kind of visual artist on the front-end side. So I like when things looking good, when products feel really good, when those tiny little details are really polished until the end of the possible of the polishing these tiny details. And one of those products from visual perspective is authentication solution for Next.js devs, which is called Clerk.dev. You will probably see the web page right now, and they have like really nice animations on their marketing page. And today's episode we will try to learn how to create that kind of animations. I will try to break down one of those animations, and let's break it down. Hi there, if you're new here, I'm Daniel Noworyta, and on this channel I'm showing ways how you can grow as a front-end engineer, how you can grow your career in IT, how you can get your first job in IT as a front-end developer. In today's episode, I will try to break down some animation on Clerk.dev website, and I will show you how I am approaching in the building stuff like this. So I will show you not only breakdown of this animation, but I will try to show you also snippets of code on how I implemented it already, and you will see end result. And you can compare a version from the Clerk.dev, and you can compare version which I already have live hosted on my personal webpage. So let's dive in. Let's try to break down animation, which we will take a look today. I choose for this episode not something really the fanciest from this webpage, but I choose this one on the left side with the numbers, which are like numbers. If you can see, if I mouse over my mouse, like numbers are showing up. There is some highlight effect on each of this number, and this is like all really nice synchronized as you will pass your security code right in, and the security code is getting accepted and all numbers are disappearing. So let's first try to dive in and break out this animation, how you can approach into building stuff like this. I always trying to think what kind of elements I will need on to do animation like this, and definitely we will need some kind of box. Yeah, so let's make some box all around it, and I will make it like a little bit bigger that you can see this better. So this would be my animation box. I will try to keep aspect ratios almost the same as they have on their webpage. So we will need some text here, multi-authentication. So let's make this text complete white, and we will also need this kind of text below. We make it smaller, let's paste it, and they are breaking down this text after enforced. Let's change the name of it. So we can see already like there are like two h1, h2 tags and span or p tag below this. So we can use h2 and p tag. So this is like simple, yeah, but now let's try to break down animation and what is happening there actually. So if we mouse over on this element, you can see the first number is showing up, there's a highlight, first highlighting show up the number, then we are like updating probably index of those elements, and our highlight element is moving down around the road. So we will need definitely some kind of elements like wrappers which will like hold our items within them. Yeah, so we will need like 6 of them. They have 6 on the web page, so let's do the same version. We will have our elements here. Definitely we will need to position them in the middle, so wrapping those elements in some kind of flexbox would be also needed, but this is like implementation detail which I will show you after breaking down this animation. But now let's see what is happening when we mouse over on this element. So first, this highlight, you see the highlight is shown, and it's showing first number within the row itself. So let's make our highlight element, which would be a little bit bigger than our boxes. So maybe I will use box and make the different color and make it a little bit bigger. Kind of highlight element, which will like follow along on each updated index. So definitely in this component we will need to keep track on the active index, and when active index will grow, we'll just follow along this direction until the end. Yeah, so for index 0 our element would be here, index 1 our element would be here, index 2, 3, 4 and 5 at the end. So this is like one stuff which is building this effect, but another stuff is like numbers, which are like also having some kind of animation, which is like from opacity 0 and a little bit spring animation. So I will just also put some kind of number here and make it white. So each of this row will have like number. I'll just skip this right now. And those numbers are also animated elements. Yeah, so we can just make nodes on this side, animated, and let's try to write here. So numbers, highlight, and there's also one thing at the end. If you take a look deep enough, you will see at the end all of those fields getting this highlight effect, and numbers are disappearing. So probably we will need at the end highlight all of those elements. Not taking a look on the active index or not. If we will be on the end of the element list, we would highlight each of these elements separately. So this would be probably a separate animated element. Yeah, so like all highlight. So to sum this up, we will need to track index. So we'll need to track index here. We will definitely need to track if we are still animating single numbers. So until we will reach end of our array of numbers, we'll need to track this. Yeah, so probably I will name it somehow like is fade. So this would be my indicator where I should start my global animation. So this all highlight animation should be started. And it's also, I think it would be useful because we will use one highlighter element. So during the fade animation, this highlight, we will probably set our index back to 0. That's why it would be really nice to somehow tell our component that we are in this transition phase, that he will not animate and not show this highlighter here during the going back way, because we don't want to show it. If you can see here, it's going right, and then it's disappearing, and then it's showing again on the first position. Yeah, so we don't want a situation like this element is taken from here, make it a little bit bigger, and we're reaching end of this array, and then we are moving this element here during the all highlight animation. So we have to somehow hide this element during this movement back. So we will also need kind of is transitioning or is ending animation. So we will need like 3 pieces of state here. Definitely we will need definitely logic on mouse over and mouse going out from the element. Yes, so mouse enter, mouse leave. This would be like also needed in implementation, that kind of component here. So now if we break down, let's try to take a look at the code snippets and let's see the solution at the end, how this looks like on my webpage. What I will show you, it's my dirty solution for this animation. The code would be available. You will find the links below this video. So what you can see right now, it's like my interpretation of wrapping elements. So we have this card global element. So if you can take a look on this animation breakdown, this is this stuff here, which is like wrapping whole component for me. I have then 2 elements within this card. I have like element which is centering for me all digits, and 2 text pieces which we also saw on the breakdown session. So this is number 1, this is number 2, and I have also here this one wrapper which is centering me this flex wrapper here. So if you can take a look, this is the center element, and cluster for me is nothing else than just this row with flexed items. Next stuff which we should take a look, it's like we should render those squares in the middle of this card. So if you go to the animation breakdown, we need those elements. So let's say we are passing set of numbers to our component, and we are rendering like as many of those numbers, we're rendering as many of those squares. So we will need do some mapping. So this is like proposal for me. We do like array from our digits, which we are passing to our component, and we are doing mapping here. There are nothing else fancy, just styling for making those boxes really with nice shadows and stuff like this. So it's like nothing fancy yet here. Now let's break down our animated elements. For this component I used motion.dev, so you can find it on motion.dev webpage. So it's like popular library for doing animations in React. So we need now this global element which is like hovering through the index. Yes, so if we take a look on our animation breakdown here, this is about this guy here. So he should go within the active index. So we are showing this element whatever the active index is within this. So within our map we are showing this element. So this has to be movable element. That's why I've wrapped this in motion.dev. And if you can take a look on my code interpretation here, I'm checking this if this index is already active one, if I'm hovering on whole card, and if I'm not transitioning, because as I said, if we are transitioning from the end of this animation to the beginning, we don't want to show this element. Yeah, so I switched this to the motion.dev element. I'm using some fancy key here. We shouldn't actually use the index, but I just make this like fast and dirty implementation. I put some classes to make it look nice, and here is like initial. So initially I wanna scale it, like I want to have it like a little bit bigger, because if you take a look on the Clerk website, they are scaling from like that, they're just springing this highlights. So initially I have opacity 0 and scale is a little bit bigger, and then I'm animating this to be scale 125, then 1, and then it depends if I'm fading out or not from animation. I'm scaling this to 1 or 125. Opacity, if I'm fading out, I don't want to show this element. This is about this movement at the end. So if I'm on the last index and moving the element on the end of on the beginning of my list, I don't want to show this element at all. Yes, and here I just describing type of transition. This is an API from Motion. I wanna have type spring, stiffness 500, damping 30. It's like good default values, which are always starting animations like this. And here you have like scale, keyframes, and I setting duration to fade out a little bit shorter, because I wanna hide this element a little bit faster when I'm at the end of the animation. The next, we need some SVG element to actually style this down. Yeah, so if you can take this, I have only wrapper for this, but I don't have styling yet in place. So the next one is this SVG element, which could look like this. I think it's like simple SVG with class name. I'm putting some stroke, brightness, and I'm doing like light and dark mode stuff here. Next, let's take a look on the global highlight element. As I told on the breakdown session, at the end of this animation, so if we will like reach end index here, we want to show those guys everywhere, and we want to make like spring animation for all of them in short period of time, and then disappear all of the numbers. But let's focus on this one now. So this I implemented like I'm checking active index, digit size is -1. If it is the true, I'm animating this stuff. And this guy is shown only when I have like active index at the end of my array of elements. I want to show those elements only if we are reaching the end of our array. Yeah, so it's like also motion.dev, which I have some simple styling here and showing this animation. So I'm doing like scaling, so it's like springing out and in. I'm doing opacity from 0, 1 to 0, and transition 0.5 second and delay 35. And when we have this, the last piece of data which we need are like numbers itself. Yeah, so we also need animated numbers, because as I said here, numbers are also animated. These small pieces within the boxes are also animated, and I created them by also using motion span in this case. Initially I'm doing opacity 0, scale 1, and when we animating this is really important. So when we are hovering, we have to check if we are fading out or not. If we are fading out, so that means we are at the end of animation, we want to set opacity to 0. We want to hide those elements. Then, if you can see on the animation breakdown, I showing those numbers only each after another. So if my highlighter is here, only first 2 numbers should be shown, those not yet. Yeah, so that's why we have this check here. If index is less than or equal than active index, we want to set the opacity to 1. So we want to show this number, we want to animate it. And if the number is after our highlighter, we still want to hide it. That's why opacity is set to 0 here. Scale, when we are hovering and fading out, we want to make this fancy hiding all numbers at once, but in the all other cases we want to just scale to 1. They are not animated at all. Transition, simple values, in out, delay. When there's fade out, I want to make a little bit delay for those numbers that they are still on the view and then they are hiding. So if you take a look on Clerk.dev, I'm telling about this moment at the end. So if we will reach last element, then the numbers are hiding. So they are still in the view and then hiding a little bit after all. Next element which we need, it's like state in our components. So there are those pieces which I figure out I will need. Probably it could be simplified, but in my implementation for now, I needed to keep track of timer ref, fade out ref to clean them up. I needed to keep track on active index and if I'm fading out and if I'm hovering at all. Yeah. So this is like state which is needed, and now two functions which are like starting my animation and resetting my animation when I'm out from the component. So on start animation, I wanna clear as existing timers, because it's in the case when I'm coming with my mouse into the component, I wanna clear everything first, and I wanna only show glow if we are not in transition state. So if we are in transitioning, we are setting this to false. Then we need to set timer ref. The logic is out there. So for setting this timer ref, we are setting interval, where interval itself is setting current index. It's growing our current index. Yeah, it's here within this. We have to check if we have reached the end of our array of numbers. If we reach the end of our array of numbers, we have to clear up our timer ref. We have to set our fade out to true to trigger the last animation with this all highlighters and numbers hiding. And then we need to set additional fade out timer to signal our application to start our animation again after the last animation is finished. Why it's needed? Because if we reach end of this animation, we want to wait and we still want to trigger our animation again. Yeah, it's like never-ending loop. So we did the same. So if we are with the animation, we go out, animation is like fading out. So that's why we have this timer. That's why we are setting this and start animation again here. And now we need also something to connect our animations together. So to connect this, it's like we are connecting our component with our function. So we have to set is hovering to true, and we have to set on mouse leave to false. That's it. Complete code for this component you will find on the links below. You can see working version on my webpage. If you go to danielnoworyta.not.pl, you can go also .com and /playground. You will see there is like component like this, which I implemented by myself, doing like breakdown. It's working on the light and dark mode, so you can just play with it. You can just take a look on the source code, and I'm looking forward for your implementations. So give me a sign in the comments if you are able to recreate it. I will post links below. So thanks for today and see you in the next one. Bye bye.